Hey everyone, it's Seth from Classic Gaming Brothers. This episode is sponsored by Audible. Enjoy the episode.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Classic Gaming Brothers. I'm Zach.
And I'm Seth.
And we are the Classic Gaming Brothers.
That's right, we are the Classic Gaming Brothers.
We are. We play video games, we are classic, and we are brothers.
We are brothers. I don't think, as long as we do this podcast, I don't think we will not be brothers.
I really can't see that changing.
And I guess I could disown you.
You could disown me, but then you will just be the Classic Gaming person.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Which probably is not as nearly as exciting as Classic Gaming Brothers.
Yeah, because being brothers is a whole selling point. When I tweet at people and say, listen to our show, I say, we talk about video games, we talk about retro video games, and we are brothers.
and we are brothers. That's I would say probably the selling point of the show. Which, if you haven't listened to, is structured into 3 different segments. We talk about what we've been playing recently. We talk about topic of the week, as it were, and then we wrap everything up about games that are coming out, like a buy, wait, pass segment, where we talk about games that we want to buy or wait on or pass on.
Yeah.
We have passed on games in the past, and we will pass on games in the future.
We have passed on past games, and we will future game. I got nothing. What have you been recently playing, Seth?
So recently I've been playing a game called Yes, Your Grace. It is a 8-bit style video game where you play as a lord, and it is tough. It is a very tough game, because you have to make all these decisions, and the decisions have ramifications. And essentially you start the game off every day with you sitting on your throne and having this line of petitioners come to you and ask for things. And these things could be something that's minor or may appear to be minor and then be a problem later down the road. So they may ask you for gold or resources, and they will use them for different reasons. Maybe they want to have a wedding or something like that. So an example of a choice that you can encounter is that a peasant comes to you and asks you for gold to throw a wedding, because he wants to have a really cool wedding, and you could help him out, give him some gold. And if you give him the gold and he has the wedding, then you find out later that your daughter sneaks out and goes to the wedding and gets hammered. So if you didn't give him the gold, she wouldn't sneak out and she wouldn't get hammered. Essentially is that. So then there's you have to make allies in the game, and you have to fight enemies, and it's got a pretty interesting storyline in regards to what's going on in the kingdom and why you have to do certain things, and it starts the game off at the end, or at least a foreseeable end of what happens, and then you go back and you kind of see what led you up to that moment in time.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool kind of it's a strategy. It's got some choices kind of definitely matter, and you can definitely put yourself into a situation where you have no money and are scraping by kind of thing. So it's an interesting game for sure. What about you? What have you recently been playing?
Well, I've recently been playing a game called Black Mesa, which was created by a development studio called the Crowbar Collective. We actually spoke about Black Mesa twice so far, very briefly. Right. We talked about them during our Half-Life episode way back when. And we also talked about them during our PAX episode, during our follow-up, because we got to speak to the developers at PAX.
That's right. Our post-PAX pod.
Yeah, that's right. So if you haven't listened to those previous episodes, Black Mesa is a full source port of the original, or full source remake of the original Half-Life. And Source is the engine that it's using. It's the same engine that was used for Half-Life 2 and Portal and Team Fortress 2 and Dota and a whole bunch of other games that Valve makes. So Black Mesa looks to recreate the original Half-Life, and it's really cool in the sense that they are redesigning levels so that if you played the original Half-Life a lot, like me, it's not like a walk in the park for people who've already played. Right. So there's some new twists every now and then. Now, I've already played Black Mesa. I played it the previous release that was out, but they recently just fully released the game. It's first out of early access stage, and they have added the Zen portion, which for those who have not played Half-Life, in the last part of the game you're in this alien dimension called Zen, where there are a bunch of different like monsters and stuff that you have to fight, and the physics changes up a bit. The whole game just kind of shifts in tone, and the Crowbar Collective team has done a painstaking job not only recreating Zen, but also refining Zen. It was one of the biggest complaints in the original Half-Life was that the Zen missions threw the entire game off of its pace. So the Crowbar Collective's team was to bring it back to the pace of the rest of Half-Life without destroying the memories of Zen and, living into its spirit. And so far I've been enjoying it. There's definitely new elements they've added to it, but it still feels like the Half-Life that I remember playing, with obviously some new twists and turns. So it's very nice.
Right. Yeah. It was also really nice meeting them, and they were a pretty chill group of guys. I think that.
Yeah, they were. They seemed really cool. They humored us when we were joking around about the game had been in early access for many years, almost.
It was 13 years or something like that. The game was in early access, which is a pretty long time for game development.
Yeah, that's a very long time for game development. So they were good natured, and they kind of took our friendly jibes. We weren't trying to insult them by any means.
They liked our cut of our jib, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. And there was a good team. It was a good chance to get to meet them. But yeah, that's what I've been playing recently.
I guess that kind of segues into our topic, as it were, a little bit. So this week we're gonna talk about a game that is close to everyone's hearts. A game called Doom.
It makes it sound so much. The way you led that up made it sound like it was going to be such a sweet, gentle game.
It's like it's close to sweet. Yeah,
for some people, I'm sure.
Yeah, Doom is a very sweet and gentle game. If you haven't played it, I don't know why you're listening to this podcast. But it is a classic FPS first-person shooter game. And what we're going to do this particular episode, we're just going to talk about Doom. Just the first one. We're not going to go into all the other sequels and prequels and all that other garbage that we usually do. We want to try and slow down the podcast, as it were, and really just talk about one game, and we're going to talk about just Doom.
That's right.
The numero uno game, and hopefully you guys like this structure. We'll probably have a few more episodes or another episodes where we'll kind of go back to where we were doing before, I guess. But we think we're trying out this. We're trying out just doing one game and just kind of deep diving it.
Yeah.
So without further ado, we're gonna break out this little middle segment. Further a doom. Oh, the puns are bad. To break out this the middle segment even further into 3 more segments because we love 3 segments for everything. We move in threes.
A trilogy.
Yeah, we're a trilogy, a duology trilogy. I don't know. There's only 2 of us, but we're going to talk about first our memories, our personal memories of Doom, and then we'll get into the history and background of Doom and some stuff that you may or may not know about Doom. I certainly didn't know it. And then we'll get into we'll end it all with the gameplay of Doom, which hopefully you're familiar with or not. I mean, if you've never played Doom, you'll learn about it today. So Zach, since you are the younger brother, I'll go first. No, I'm just kidding. What are your memories of Doom? Because you would be being born around when it came out.
Yeah, so when Doom came out, let's see, actually, when Doom first came out back in December of 1993, I would have been born, but I probably wouldn't have been playing Doom. I was born in August of that year, so I wouldn't have been playing Doom at barely a year old. What I remember about Doom is actually what I remember about a Doom, not clone, but modification that was made by the Chex company called Chex Quest, which was a full total conversion of Doom that was made kid-friendly and that we had a copy of. So that was my first experience with a form of Doom. I later played the actual Doom, probably, I think it was at a friend's house. If I remember correctly, I had a friend named Kevin who had a copy of the original Doom and had a copy of Wolfenstein on a computer.
I feel like everyone had a friend named Kevin who had a copy of Doom on a computer.
Probably. I think so.
It's a bunch of Kevins out there just wandering around with copies of Dooms.
Yeah, it's just those are the first people to get Doom was Kevins.
Kevins. Your name is Kevin? Here is a copy of Doom.
So then when I got a little older, well, by older I mean when I entered middle school and was able to have a stable internet, I started playing what was available for me, like the shareware version of Doom, which was free. And I actually played through an emulator the Sega 32X version of Doom for some reason. And and that's, eventually I did get an official copy of the Ultimate Doom, and I got to play through the entire game many years after it had come out, but I did eventually play through the whole game.
I don't know if I've even played through the entirety of Doom. I mean, I have played through the first episode, as it were, which was the shareware version.
Yep.
But I don't know if I actually played through the rest of the game, or if I just have these like memories and what I've played have just been this the repeat of the first episode over and over and over again. Is essentially what happened. My memories of Doom, so 93, I would have been a little bit older than you.
Yeah.
I played Doom, probably not in 1993, though. I played Doom probably when I was in somewhere between first and third grade, I think. So my friend Matt had a cool little basement area where the computer was, far away from parents, and we were able to play Doom uninterrupted by any parents who had no idea what we were doing down there. We were playing Doom. That's what we were doing. So my memories of Doom have actually been very collaborative for being a single player game, which I think is interesting. But I've always have memories of me playing Doom with one of my very close friends, Matt, and he's still one of my close friends today. And we'd go down, we play it. I remember figuring out cheat codes.
Okay.
IDKFA and the God mode
IDDQD.
There you go. And using those cheat codes to be able to beat the game, because it was very difficult, especially for like third graders.
Yeah.
The game was very difficult to play. So it was interesting because that was one of the first games that I really even learned about even doing cheat codes and stuff like that, and being able to give yourself an edge, as it were, to play the game.
Oh yeah.
definitely all of the sounds, the iconic monsters, those like soldiers in the first mission.
Oh
They just
yeah,
have,
yeah,
they all
yeah.
they all look like Guile, I guess, from Street
Yeah, they
Fighter.
do with the flat top heads.
Yes,
Yeah.
like the flat top heads, blonde. They're definitely all like just Guile dressed up in camo with guns, and then you have like the monsters, the like weird humanoid ones, the like the brown.
Oh, the
ones.
imps. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they shoot like the fireballs at you.
Yep.
But I wouldn't even say that they're imps. Like I know that they're called imps, but they look like they're like
They look
big
like
monsters.
dudes.
Yeah, they're just they're dudes. And then the iconic like beholder-esque monster. The
Yes,
red
the
one
Kako
with
demon, as it's called.
The Kako demon. Yeah, we I think we made it to the last episode once or something like that. I'm not sure. Like once again, I liked also the degree of your character getting injured as you
Yeah,
went through the level, and like wounds would appear on his face. It definitely was like a way of them showing you how you were progressing, but like to this day I still felt like they gave you a health bar. They didn't necessarily need to show you your face getting beat up, but I feel like it was an added like situation that like stays with me still. Like I think back at Doom, I think of like getting shot by the Guile guys and getting bloodied in my face.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it a bit more with gameplay, but I think having that face there really hones in on the gameplay of Doom in the sense that it is a quick game, and we'll talk more about that. But I think having that visual representation of your guy being injured is a good way to help keep the pace of the game quick, because you can just quickly look at the guy as opposed to staring at your actual health number.
Right.
But yeah, I think Doom is definitely a memorable game, and definitely memorable for someone of your age at the time playing it.
Yeah, absolutely. That Doom was right around. So I'd already played Wolfenstein 3D, so I wasn't new to the first-person shooter genre. Like I knew what I was doing when I was behind the keyboard, as it were. It's also not a very complicated game to figure out. You can probably teach pretty much anybody to play Doom. You just gotta point the mouse and you have to point your mouse and click. So like Wolfenstein and Doom, and then right around that time was the Star Wars, the Dark Forces game, like shortly after Doom, and I felt like all three of those games were really like in my mind kind of defining for the whole genre and why I still play first-person shooters today and why I still enjoy them. And I think it's partly because of these iconic games that came out. That have kind of inspired, like they're very nostalgic, and you're always trying to kind of get back, which is why it's very exciting, because we didn't mention it, but Doom, the new Doom game is out.
Doom Eternal, yeah. As of the release of this episode, Doom Eternal will be out and will be in the hands of people who want to play Doom Eternal.
Yes, and so if you are a true Classic Gaming Brothers fan, you would know that we mentioned many years ago, not many years ago, but maybe at least many episodes ago, that we said we'd do a Doom episode when Doom was released. And here is our Doom episode.
We kept our promises.
We keep promises made, promises kept.
That's right. So I think straying off of our personal memories of Doom, we're going to talk now a bit about the history and the background to Doom.
Get into the facts.
Yeah, get right into the facts. So, id Software, which is the company that created Doom, was originally founded in 1991, and it was named after the psychological term id. So, for anyone who studied Freud, you might know about the ego, the superego, and the id, which are what Freud kind of determined were kind of the different elements of a human psyche. The id being the one that is the human's base instincts, their wants and desires, which I think later came to really show in how id created their games. It was always about, what they wanted, what they desired, and the human instinct of just running and gunning sort of thing.
Right, yeah. Very base games, as it were.
Yeah, so Now roll over a few years to 1993. Clinton is in office. Beanie Babies were all the rage. Jurassic Park is hitting theaters, and Myst, a game that is in first person, is also released. It is a very slow game in first person, but it is in first person.
Slow comparatively to
Doom, slow compared to
Wolfenstein.
Doom, I should say. Yeah, and what happened was id Software decided that they were going to create a new game, and that they were going to use some things that they learned from Wolfenstein, as well as this whole new engine they were building in order to create this game. And Seth, do you want to talk a bit about the actual programming element of Doom? Because I think it has kind of an interesting history in terms of how exactly it was built as a game.
Sure, yeah, and just to be clear, we talk about Wolfenstein 3D as being the predecessor to Doom. The same people who worked on Doom worked on Wolfenstein 3D. Like, it's just the game that came after Wolfenstein 3D. So these guys weren't necessarily new at making 3D shooters.
No, and in fact, before Wolfenstein, they had a different 3D shooter called Catacomb. So they definitely weren't new for 3D shooters.
Right.
So,
interestingly enough, though, Doom is not really a 3D game, as it were. It is a very good, essentially fake 3D game. So Doom was programmed in ANSIC and some parts of assembly. And now, I'm not a programmer. I know that assembly is used in NES games. Mm-hmm. I know that ANSIC is a older computer language. Mm-hmm. But they use their programming to so Wolfenstein had flat levels, and all the levels were at right angles. Mm-hmm. So you walk through, and all the walls were the same height. All the floors were flat, and which made sense if you were in Hitler's compound, right? So all the floors, everything is like straight up, and they're at the right angles and all that. So the Doom engine, though, allowed walls and floors to be at any height or any angle. So you could make, you could make different, outdoor areas or outdoor feeling areas, because you can make the walls super high, and you can make them look like they're sky. So you can make it look like it's outdoors versus just being the same level and the same right angles. And you could make different angles, so you can make things that jutted out or things that jutted in. You could use that to play around with the level design.
Yeah.
Though the engine was restricted so that you could not have any traversable area that would be sitting on top of the other area. So you couldn't stack design a level. So all the Doom levels were just sprawling levels. So, which people found out when they tried doing the no-clip cheat, which was IDSPISPODPD, was the no-clip cheat, which has its own history. But why it is that? But so since I said it was not technically a 3D engine, so how does that work? So there was a method that was first used called binary space partitioning, which allowed the system to quickly pull up a portion of the level based on what you could see. And they had to use binary space partitioning because Romero's level designs were so nuts. John Romero just made these crazy levels, and they didn't really mesh into the game engine. The game engine was restrictive, so they had to develop an entirely new way of processing data to be able to play Doom, essentially.
Yeah.
Though, an interesting fact, though, Zach, you have that down here that it was going to be an Aliens game?
Yeah, so early in development for Doom, kind of after they finished Wolfenstein, they had this idea they wanted to do a new game, and they were playing around with some different ideas, and they got in touch with 20th Century Fox, who was interested in pursuing a licensed game based in the Aliens franchise, specifically based on the second movie, Aliens. So John Romero and John Carmack, the two people at id Software who were kind of the heads of the team, went back and forth with 20th Century Fox, and eventually the plan fell through, mostly because Carmack had started to come up with kind of an original idea that he wanted to play around with, which was this idea based on the theme of demons versus technology. And the whole way they even got to demons was apparently the guys at id Software had a ongoing Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and the most recent one that they had ended in a whole bunch of demons just showing up and taking over the campaign. Which can happen. So I guess what happened was they were playing around with these ideas, and Carmack was like, "Hey, remember when this happened? What if we did something like that, but in a video game?" And they went with it.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of video games are inspired by the creativity that comes from a Dungeons and Dragons game.
I think so. Yeah.
It's not even. It's like fact. Like that's just like what happens is that a lot of especially benchmark video games are inspired some way directly or indirectly by D&D, which is interesting because Dungeons and Dragons is at the height of popularity now. So I'm hoping because D&D is at a height of popularity and it inspired so much video game like the Ultima series and Doom and all these different video games that were indirectly or directly inspired, maybe we'll see a upsurge as the people who are playing D&D now grow up and make video games. I mean, or are inspired and have already grown up. You do you. You can make video games at any age.
Yeah. So what ended up happening with Doom was that one of the guys at id Software, a man named Tom Hall, decided that Doom needed a plot. And John Carmack did not agree that video games should have complex plots. He kind of, in vulgar terms, said that plot in a video game is like having a plot in a porn film. So he wasn't super into having a really complex plot. But Tom Hall felt like it was important for Doom to have something to be going on against. So he created what was called the Doom Bible, which was this massive text of just information. I mean, it gave everything from the Doom guy's name to different weapons that he wanted to be in the game that eventually were cut out, proposed episode names, which we're going to talk about later, but Doom was split up into multiple episodes in the actual game itself. So the name Knee Deep in the Dead, which was the name for the first episode of Doom, was originally written into the Doom Bible, and a whole bunch of different things that would later go into Doom were written down here. Not everything, and when Tom Hall did eventually leave id Software, he actually did bring over some of his ideas from the Doom Bible into future games that he worked on, such as The Rise of the Triad and Terminal Velocity, which were published by id's competitor, Apogee Software and 3D Realms.
Right. Are they defunct now?
I think 3D Realms exists in name only. Apogee Software is, I believe, defunct now.
id Software was purchased by Bethesda.
That I think is a good breakdown of the history of Doom.
Well, I think we talked about the plot in regards to the Doom Bible, but we didn't actually talk about the actual plot. So the actual plot is that there's a Martian base and it gets overrun by demons from hell. Doom Guy, as he is referred to, is a Marine who is unnamed, which is why his name is Doom Guy, and he goes to hell to stop the demons. And either Zach says that he does a good job. I say he does a good job or a bad job, depending on who's playing. Because if it's me that's playing, he does a bad job, and he never gets his job done.
That's true.
But if you beat all the levels, then you've done a good job since you have survived. Yeah, so that's pretty much the plot.
And there actually is, between each episode of Doom, there are these little kind of story blurbs, which will give you kind of what's going on in the head of the Doom guy's mind. And there is this whole little subplot about him having a pet rabbit that got killed, and he's doing it as a whole revenge thing, which I wish I was making up, but that is something that's detailed in the game.
Good. Well,
so
he's very sad about he's kind of like Minsk from Baldur's Gate, except if he was not.
Yes.
If he was Doom Guy.
And another thing was after when Doom was eventually finished in terms of production, they released it as a shareware game, which essentially meant that they gave it out for free. However, they only gave out the first episode, which was, as I previously mentioned, called Knee Deep in the Dead. And the shareware episode was actually released on an FTP server, a file transfer protocol server, at the University of Wisconsin, of all places. So all the guys at it did was they uploaded the shareware version to this FTP server at this university and just let people download it for free. Yeah, and that's how they got the word out.
That's all you need to do.
And eventually they updated the game and they released a full 4-episode version as retail. That 4-episode version was called The Ultimate Doom, and that came out in 1995.
And so part of the to get to the gameplay of Doom, you are in the game. It's a first-person shooter. You move around the map using WASD, which is the keyboard commands for forward, back, left, and right. And then you use your mouse to pivot.
You can. So I played Doom. When I played Doom, I was actually playing using a different keyboard setup, which was using the arrow keys and then control as the gun. Okay. So there are different ways that you could play it, but one that might be more familiar for people of modern first-person shooters would be the WASD and the mouse.
And you don't have any level. You can't like pivot your gun up and down. You can only move it left to right, from what my memory is. Yeah, and then so every shot, as long as you're pointing at the monster somewhere, if you shoot it, your gun, you're gonna attack it.
Yes.
It's very fast. It's very hectic. And as you increase the difficulty, there are more enemies and more things flying at you. So you're dodging, you're taking hits, you're shooting back, you're trying to kill these things. You're also trying to find keys. There's a red, blue, and yellow key?
Yep, yellow key.
Yeah, red, blue, and yellow. That's it. Those are the only 3 keys that you can find because you only have 3 key slots. So it doesn't matter what level you are. You just need a red key, a blue key, or yellow key. And getting these keys progress the level further, so you can finally get to usually like an elevator or something at the end where you push it and then it engages the end screen. So there's like you start in the map, you go through the map, and then at the end you push like a switch, and that causes the end of the level. And then a like stats screen shows up, and then you move on to the next stage.
And the stats screen, what it will do is it will tell you how many enemies you killed in the level, how many collectibles you got, and how much of the map you explored. So one thing that's cool about Doom is that there's a lot of secrets that are scattered throughout the map. There's a lot of these secret walls that when you click on them, it reveals there's a doorway there that you didn't know. And when you go through these doorways, sometimes you'll actually find entrances to hidden levels, which will add an extra level onto the episode that you're playing, which was cool. Right. And the extra levels often had a few more goodies in them, some weapons that you might not be able to get till later in the game you could find in secret levels, and also some new enemies and such like that, enemies that you might not see till later in the game, that you'd have to fight. So the secret levels were also a little more difficult than the standard levels.
This game was released episodically?
Kind of. So the shareware version of Doom was just 1 episode. It was just 9 levels called Knee Deep in the Dead. And when they released the first full version of Doom, retail version, there were 3 episodes in the full shareware version. So when you start Doom, you press start game, and then you're given a list of episodes that you can choose from. And each episode has a set of 9 levels, which include 1 secret level. And there are 4 total episodes in the Ultimate Doom, which is the 1995 version. That is what most people consider to be the kind of quintessential Doom, if you would. Right. It has the full experience, if you would.
36 levels?
Yeah, about 36 levels, and they are all fairly decently sized. I mean, the later levels get a little longer and become a little more difficult. The earlier levels obviously are a little easier, but for the most part, it's a very robust game, even for that time period. And that kind of episodic style of the way they broke the game down would later be popularized in future first-person shooters not made by id Software. So Duke Nukem did it. Half-Life kind of does it. Each section of the game has a kind of a title to it. And in other first-person shooters of that time period would adapt that kind of episode element to them.
And the episodes are Knee Deep in the Dead for the shareware version, The Shores of Hell, which is the first paid for version, first paid episode. Inferno is the second paid for episode, and Thy Flesh Consumed is the episode that gets released with the Ultimate Doom. So, and you can see, I remember, even if you have the shareware version, you can see the other episodes to play. So when you select them, it prompts you to buy the game.
Yes,
and you go to an average. I don't even know if it doesn't give you a way to buy the game. It
actually it did give you
buy the game.
I think it did give you a phone number and their PO box at the time. So I believe how you would have done it is you would have sent a check to a PO box, and they would have mailed you the full version of the game.
Yep, because that's how you did things in '93. Is you sent a check to some mysterious PO box, and maybe some guys who dropped a game on a college FTP site might mail you a CD-ROM.
That's right. Or back then it was a floppy. So.
Oh yeah, so true. It's a floppy disk. That's right. A 3.5.
There are 8 weapons, which includes your fists. There's shotgun
and the
BFG, which stands for big swear word gun. And just a standard array of weapons, pistol, shotgun. There's also multiple difficulty settings. All have kind of clever names. There's I'm Too Young to Die, which is the easiest setting. Hurt Me Plenty, which is normal setting. Ultra Violence, which is the harder setting. And then Nightmare, which is very hard. Nightmare setting, if I remember correctly, was done. John Romero was just like, let's throw everything at them and make this impossible. So
they even disable cheats. You can't cheat during Nightmare.
You can't cheat during Nightmare mode. It is everything after you. It is a hard. I've played Nightmare mode once, and I can't get through the first level with Nightmare mode. It is hard, and I never swear I was good at video games though.
Very hard.
Yeah, in fact, very nightmarish.
Yes. So that I think is going to be it for what we have for Doom.
I think so.
I hope everybody enjoyed the different pacing, as it were, and the different just talking about Doom. I think we'll probably do more episodes like this. So the thing is, we're going to try and do more episodes like this on classic games that you may or may not have played, because that's, kind of like, I feel like part of this spirit of our podcast is that's what you kind of are coming here to listen to us, to talk about the spirit of classic games. So we'll do some of those, but we may also have newer games that we may do an entire episode on, just to see if there's games that you may be interested in learning about or hearing about. I also think that we have a message from our sponsor. Are you bored Tuesday through Saturday waiting for another episode of Classic Gaming Brothers?
If you are, well, then do we have a solution for you.
You can try a 30-day free trial of Audible, and in doing so, we'll make some money, and you'll be able to enjoy a nice book like Ready Player One by Ernest Cline.
Or Masters of Doom by David Kushner. Both books are narrated by Will Wheaton to hold you over till we get back to you on Sunday.
Visit audibletrial.com/classicgamingbrothers to check it out.
That's audibletrial.com/classicgamingbrothers.
And now back to our show.
And that was a great message from our sponsor. I think I learned a lot from that message.
I think I heard myself.
I think I heard
everybody else.
I think I heard me for a little bit.
Maybe just a little.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. All right. Well, anyway, to move on to closing out the podcast and doing our Byway Pass session, people thought that we were done. That's right. We're not done yet. So for Byway Pass, Zach, what are you excited about buying, waiting, or passing on? And I'm really mad because you took what I wanted to buy, wait, pass on.
I know. So it's a game that we mentioned in our PAX, our post-PAX episode. It's a game we also got to see a little bit of gameplay of. Neither Seth or I got a chance to play it, though. It was very popular while we were there. And that is Carrion. So Carrion is a quote-unquote reverse horror game in which you assume the role of an as a blob,
Anthropomorphic.
I'm just going to say, you assume the role is a blob of unknown origins, and you stalk and kill people that captured you. In many ways, it is like you're playing as a demon from Doom, as opposed to
segue.
Yeah, as opposed to the Doom guy. It is being published by Devolver Digital. It was developed by Phobia Game Studio, and it looks like, we've talked about Devolver Digital, but if you are aware of Devolver Digital's games, it looks a lot like one of their games. It's this kind of pixely graphic game. It's very gruesome, which Devolver Digital does like blood and blood and gore when they can have it. And as mentioned, you're playing as this blob-like creature who doesn't have walking or jumping mechanics. So what you do is, as you go through the level, you are using tendrils to pull yourself up elevator shafts and grab people, and it just looks really, really cool.
Yeah, it's very visceral.
Very visceral. I love Doom and stuff, and I don't consider myself super duper into blood and gore. But at the same time, I think it looks like a unique twist to kind of the idea of the monster escape genre. There's a lot of horror games where you usually play as the person running from the monster, and now you're the monster chasing the people running. And I think it looks very cool. So right now I think I'm on a wait for it, just in the sense that I kind of want to get a better feel for what people are going to say about the game. I think it's got a lot going for it in terms of how it looks and how it appears to play. But I think I want to wait a little bit to hear what some of the early reviews are before I go and pick it up. But I'm definitely going to put it on my little radar there.
Your little radar.
Yeah.
So my Byway Pass is actually a game that came out after Doom by only a couple of years, and came out the same year that Ultimate Doom came out in '95, and that is Command and Conquer, because they're remastering Command and Conquer, which I am very excited about. Command and Conquer and the Red Alert, which actually ended up, to just tie things back, was a game that Justin selected from our list of games, not the remaster, the original. He did select it, so that's, if in case our audience was wondering what Justin chose, that's what he chose. The Command & Conquer Red Alert defined the RTS genre 25 years ago, and now they're coming back fully remastered by Westwood Studio team members. And they are also redoing the FMVs so that they are not pixelated, and I am very excited. It's gonna be $20. So it's coming out June 5th, and assuming that we're all still inside come June 5th, I'm probably gonna buy this game. I was putting in my head, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll wait. I really like RTS games. I really like Command and Conquer. I think Command and Conquer and StarCraft just scratch an itch that I get, and just looking at the screenshots of Command and Conquer, that game just, truly, for me, even more so than Warcraft and StarCraft, really define the RTS genre, and I get really excited about that, and so I'll buy it. I'll put it down as a buy. I think that we will chat about it in an upcoming episode, I'm sure. I assume we have to talk about a lot of RTS games. There's a lot of classic RTS games.
We do, yeah.
So we definitely have plenty of wood to chop. So look forward to future episodes about moving small miniatures across the map to kill other small miniatures.
Yeah. In what could be defined as pretty much fast chess.
Fast chess, sure. Well, listen, we love fast chess.
That's right.
So to wrap everything up, there's a couple ways that you can support us, listen to us, and contact us. I think I say that in the wrong order every time. I don't even know what the right order is. Zach, what's a good way that you can support us?
So you can support us by going to our website, www.classicgamingbrothers.com, and checking out our merch store, where we have t-shirts with our faces on it and mugs with our faces on it. So because you can't see what we look like when listening to this podcast, you can always just look down at the shirt you're wearing and imagine what we look like based on the artist rendition that was made by my friend. Another way you can support us is by sharing us, so if you follow us on social media, when we post something stupid or one of our episodes, just give it a follow, give it a share, give it a like, retweet us, do all those things, because that
Ring
way,
the bells.
Yeah, ring the bells. That way other people will know that you listen to Classic Gaming Brothers, and then they can listen too.
As much as we like to talk about the merch store, which we don't, we prefer if you listen to us. That's the best way to support us. And to tell your friends. If you tell 3 friends to listen to our podcast, maybe you'll come back and listen to it again. And that's
the most we can ask for.
That's the most that we can ask for. If you want to listen to us, though, we are available on wherever podcast is available. So if you like listening to us on Google, Apple, Stitcher, iTunes, then you can. We're there. So feel free to listen to us on any of those things. It doesn't matter where you listen to us. We know where you're listening to us.
Just like Santa, we know.
We know. We know where you are, and we know what you listen to us on.
That's right.
And that's pretty much it.
Also, if you want to reach out to us, you want to send Classic Gaming Brothers an email, you want to send us a comment, you want to send us some hate, you can email us at classicgamingbrothers@gmail.com.
Did you say hate?
Hate.
Yes. Send us hate mail.
I don't want to encourage it, but I don't want to,
No. Now I want to encourage it. Please send hate mail to Zachary.
Just at me, please.
Yeah, just at Zach. Please write an email that says, "Dear Zach." In fact, if you do this, if you listen to this part of the podcast and you send an email telling Zach why you hate him, then I will give you a game from our list.
Wow. We're going to have a lot of games we're going to have to get rid of. So yeah, you can email us at classicgamingbrothers@gmail.com. You can send us a web form thing through our website. We have a contact form there. That will just go directly to classicgamingbrothers@gmail.com. But, it's one way to do it. You can also message us on Twitter or Facebook or comment on one of our posts. We try to engage pretty much constantly with our fans and friends. And you can find us on Facebook at Classic Gaming Brothers. You can find us on Instagram, which we've been posting on a little more frequently, at Classic Gaming Brothers. You can find us on Twitter at CG Brothers Pod, because Twitter didn't want to give me the full name. I don't hold it against them. But if you follow us on any of those, you're bound to see some posts that Seth and I do. I've been fairly active on the Twitter as of lately. I've been retweeting a whole bunch of fun indie games that we saw at PAX. I've been goofing around with people, and I've been promoting the podcast. So give us a follow if you want to see me be goofy, because that's what I do best.
And then, of course, always like, subscribe, share, ring bells, send emails. We like feedback. I did get a new microphone, so hopefully the audio quality is good.
Yeah, I think
better,
it is.
Best. Just let us know. Too loud, too soft, too annoying. Just let us know. We'll fix it. And with that said, always remember, don't play games like my brother.
And don't play games like my brother.
I've been Seth.
And I've been Zach.
And we've been the Classic Gaming Brothers.
Perfect.
That's the Doom soundtrack done by Zachary's mouth.
Please don't sue me, Mr. Prince.
Alright, just roll music.